Persona 5 was the first JRPG ever made, and it's a long game just to beat. Let alone to platinum or get 100% achievements, whichever way you prefer, it's the same thing. A few years later, the game got its enhanced version, as is Persona, or honestly just Atlus tradition, with Persona 5 Royal, which came with its own unique list of achievements separate from the original game. As I did with Persona 3 a few months ago, I got to thinking which of these two has the harder trophy list, and more importantly, how different are the lists really? So I think the first thing we need to establish is that length does not necessarily equal difficulty. Just as an example, Royal obviously added more story content than the original release, and so just for the story, Royal will naturally take longer. However, Royal also added a lot of new mechanics and changed some things around that overall make the game a bit easier. But going back to the story, the games give you a trophy for beating every dungeon, as well as one extra one for seeing the ending, forming the Phantom Thieves, and getting Arsene. With Royal giving one extra for its exclusive dungeon, and also another for max evolving a party member's persona, which is story related because of Morgana, which adds up to 11 for vanilla and 13 for Royal. I know I just mentioned difficulty, but there is no difficulty requirements at all for either of these games, so if you want to blitz through the game on very easy with DLC personas, you can do that. I wouldn't, but you can and get the platinum just fine. I think we'll consider the story about the same difficulty for both. If you want to be pedantic, Royal is longer, but I wouldn't say it's any more difficult than the original. If anything, it's a bit easier because of those aforementioned added mechanics. Where things start to differ though is basically everything else on the list. One of the most notable achievements across all the main Persona games is always the one for maxing out all social links or confidants in this game. You actually need to plan your route through the daily life sections to ensure you have enough time to max them all, and often max social stats as well early enough, which, by the way, both games need you to max all them out for a trophy. This is personally my favourite part of the 100%, so it is a little disappointing that Royal doesn't have an achievement for maxing all of them, especially considering you have way more free time than in the original game, so it's a lot more manageable on a first run. Base Persona 5 is the only one that gives you an achievement for maxing all confidants, as mentioned, but both versions do give you an achievement for maxing one, as well as romancing someone and also getting first place on your exams, which is tied to your stats. Royal also gives you one for hanging out with a confidant. You know, where you don't raise the rank, but you go to one of the areas just to hang out. Vanilla doesn't have one for going to a hangout spot, but you do need to unlock all the hangout spots, which can be done easily by reading books. While we're here, I might as well go through the other free time related trophies. The only remaining one that both games have is for the batting cages, although actually even this one is a bit different. For vanilla Persona 5 you need to hit a home run, while Royal only needs you to hit the ball, which I think sums up Royal's approach to trophies very well. Base Persona 5 needs you to read all the books, complete all the video games, create all the infiltration tools, get every drink from all the vending machines, and catch the guardian fish. Whereas Royal needs you to clean LeBlanc, work a part-time job, pass out at the bathhouse, win the lottery, win a prize at the crane games, sell old clothing, play darts, play billiards, go to the jazz club, visit a temple, order from the special menu at the maid cafe, and just visit the fishing pond. I think the easiest way to sum the difference between the games is that vanilla wants you to complete an objective, read all the books, catch the guardian, which needs you to fish multiple times. Whereas Royal is content just to let you do something once in most cases. Like, yeah, just fish once, it's chill, you might not like it, but it's just one time. A few of the Royal ones are random chance, but as they don't require setup, you can just save, do the thing, and if you don't get the required outcome, just reload your save and try again. It's not locked in or anything. Also notably, a lot of the Royal ones are for new things added in that version, such as the Jazz Club as an example, which I guess makes sense, but I didn't notice it until literally just now writing this, so I'm gonna point it out. I guess also both games do ask you to customize a gun, which is technically free time related, but it doesn't actually use up time, so I forgot about it until the end. If you've ever seen a challenge run, you know how powerful the custom guns can be, so you should probably make use of this anyway. When it comes to the Velvet Room and Fusion and whatnot, each game does also have a few achievements. Both games ask you to do a group, gallows, and electric chair execution. Vanilla asks you to learn a skill through lockdown, while Royal wants you to use an incense in lockdown. Royal also asks you to do a fusion inside of a fusion alarm, which there is one just in the story, so that's probably where you should try and get it. Really though, none of this matters because base Persona 5 asks you to complete the compendium while Royal does not. Now, I don't actually mind filling out the compendium. I actually think it's quite relaxing just going through it at the end. But yeah, obviously this makes Vanilla more work for this section. Vanilla also asks you to fuse Satanael, but he's obviously part of the compendium, so it's not anything extra, but what is something you might miss is that he's only obtainable in New Game Plus. That's okay, you may think. I'll just play the start of the game until the first Velvet Room and just get him then, no problem. Actually, yes, there is a problem. Remember, you can't fuse Persona that are a higher level than you, and your level gets reset in New Game Plus. He's level 95. One of the highest in the game. This basically means you're going to need to play the majority of the game again, or max out the Strength Confidant and spend a lot of money to get him early, but trust me, you're probably going to want to be at a high level for something else that we will get to. But for now, Velvet Room Fusion related achievements are comfortably harder in Vanilla than in Royal. When it comes to Mementos, Royal added a lot of new things with Jose and there's achievements related to them. You get an achievement each for trading flowers, trading stamps, and changing the condition with Jose, as well as one for finding a deviation in Mementos, which is just random. Mementos also has requests you need to do, and, as has been a theme, Royal only asks you to complete one, while Vanilla needs you to complete every single one. Which is a pain, as some are time limited when you can accept them, and really easy to miss than others, so maybe just find a list and cross them off as you go through the game. The last thing in Mementos specifically is of course, the Reaper, which both games ask you to defeat. Now, assuming you're playing on a proper difficulty and not just auto-reviving to cheese him on very easy, he's gonna be one of your harder foes. He's the most consistent super boss in the series after all. On Vanilla though, there is a well-known exploit to make this a lot easier. If you go to Mementos on a day with flu season, the Reaper can spawn with Despair, which just causes him to auto-die in 3 turns. They made him immune to this in Royal, likely annoyed that the players found this oversight. Because of this though, Mementos is a lot tighter in which game is harder. I'd still probably say Vanilla because of the requests being easily missable, but the Reaper fix at least makes it more of a competition, at least on every difficulty that's not the easiest. Finally, we arrive at combat-focused achievements, which there actually aren't that many of really. Which may be surprising until you realise there's only so much you can really do with turn-based combat. This is just an observation, not a complaint. I like turn-based games, but after a while there's very little you can do to switch up the formula. Other than finding a treasure demon, every other achievement is different in each game. Vanilla has deal over 999 damage, doing 50 all-out attacks, hitting 100 weaknesses, defeating 3 enemies with 1 round of bullets, doing 3 baton passes in 1 turn, negotiating to get 30 different personas, and rescuing a hostage? Despite having done this, me in the present day has no recollection of this, or that it's even something that can happen in the game, but apparently it's to do with if your ally gets knocked down, the enemies can take them hostage. I don't remember that. Royal has do 1 baton pass, do a showtime, do a technical hit, getting 1 persona through negotiation, and defeating an enemy with a disaster shadow explosion, which is another mechanic that I had completely forgotten about. Much like everything else, Vanilla typically wants you to do a lot of things, while Royal will ask you to just do one thing. Overall though, combat is the most straightforward of these little sections, other than the hostage one I guess, especially if you're playing on easier difficulties and defeating enemies too fast for that one to occur. Now this last section in my notes is called The Reasons That Vanilla is Harder, no question, which is telling. First off, it wants you to defeat the twins, which is this game's Velvet Attendant super boss. What makes this a pain is less the boss itself, though it is difficult, don't get me wrong, but more the fact that you can only unlock it in New Game Plus. And as a super boss, you're going to want to try this as late and as high level as possible. So you're probably going to want to go through the majority of the game again. This is what I was talking about earlier in the Satanael bit. You also can't cheese this boss with very easy reviving, as the game just won't let you, which I actually think is good. Makes you actually have to think a little bit and, actually fight the boss. I'm sure there are specific strategies, but I am not good enough to know them off the top of my head. I think I managed it with just high-level personas. The final trophy I want to look at needs you to hear 250 of Futaba's navigation lines. Oh no. God, I hate these achievements, man. This one is admittedly not as bad as Persona 4's Hardcore Reset fan due to more status effects in the game and party members, but it's still a chore. I did get an interesting comment in a previous video that I actually thought might explain how some people get these achievements easier than others, and it basically said that if you're more experienced with these games, it's a lot easier to know what you're doing and avoid status effects or know weaknesses ahead of time, than if it's your first game, for instance, and you just won't know what you're doing and get the lines more naturally. Speaking personally, I had to start a 3rd playthrough exclusively for this trophy. Maybe I'm letting my personal bias influence this. I just cannot stand these trophies, both this one and Hardcore Reset Fan. Persona 4 Revival had better not bring it back. It's gonna bring it back, isn't it? So which game has the harder platinum overall? It's vanilla. It's not a question, it's vanilla. Royal you can do in one playthrough fairly comfortably without even needing to look at a guide or anything, while vanilla will need at least 2 playthroughs. Royal only needs you to beat the Reaper, while vanilla needs you to beat the twins as well. Royal lets you go through the game with only a few personas if you want. Vanilla needs you to max the compendium. Royal lets you have only one close friend. Vanilla needs you to max out everyone. There are other examples I could list, but I think the point has been made. I think whoever came up with the Royal list made it with the intention that people that would be interested in specifically going for it probably already did the original version. Maybe that's why it's so much easier and focuses more on the new Royal features. I have no proof of this, it makes sense to me though, I'll believe it. Not gonna complain though, Royal's list is a lot easier, but as the game is so long, I consider that a positive frankly. And that's the video. Were you aware of the massive difficulty disparity, or are you one of those that just doesn't really look at achievements and you just like the game and you saw this video and were like, ah, that's an interesting video, I'll click on that. Let me know that and more in the comments, and while you're down there, why not subscribe? It's free, helps me out, and gives you easier access to all my videos, both old and new. Thank you for watching. For now though, I'm off, hunt them tropes, and I'll see you next time.